What is up, guys? Welcome to my review for Titans Season 1, Episode 4, titled Doom Patrol. So, this episode is titled Doom Patrol, and obviously it is setting up the Doom Patrol. If you don't know, the Doom Patrol will be getting their own TV series on the DC Universe. It's a spin-off from Titans, specifically it's a spin-off from this episode, and they were introduced in this episode. So, something that I've noticed in my reviews for Titans is that they introduce a lot of new characters. So in every review I have to go over what I think about these characters, and honestly it's pretty insane. They're only 4 episodes in and they've already introduced so many superheroes. I mean, compare that to the Arrowverse, where 4 episodes in, which is 4 episodes into Arrow, they really only introduced Oliver Queen and I guess Laurel Lance, and that is it. But here in Titans they have Robin, Starfire, Beast Boy, Raven, Batman in the background. You have the whole Doom Patrol, Hawk and Dove, also Superman in the background as well. They've already introduced a crap ton of characters in just 4 episodes, and honestly, they've done a pretty great job at setting up this universe in just 4 episodes from what we've gotten so far. So, I know this episode is titled Doom Patrol, but the first thing I want to talk about, the first character, he is a member of the Doom Patrol, but it is Beast Boy, because he is obviously a much larger character in this TV show than the other members of the Doom Patrol. So Beast Boy did really get the short end of the stick in the first 3 episodes of the show. He didn't appear very often. I don't think he appeared at all in the first episode until the end, and then the second and third episode. I don't think he actually appeared in the second episode at all, but then the third episode he had a very small role. But this episode he finally gets his own episode surrounding him, and honestly he's really good. I think the actor does a great job at playing the role of Beast Boy. I think the characterization is great. The costume is, well, it's not really a costume, it's just his jacket does kind of look like his comic book costume, so they probably should make his actual costume inspired by his jacket that he wears. I really like Beast Boy in this episode. The only thing I really don't like, and I think this will be resolved later in the season, is that he can only really turn into a tiger, which I've said before, they probably did that to save CGI money, because they made a CGI tiger and it costs a lot of money to make other animals. So for now in season 1 they're probably sticking to just a tiger, which isn't really Beast Boy's thing. He could turn into not just a tiger but every animal in the animal kingdom, so the fact that it's just a tiger here is a little weird. Also, he isn't green. It only turns green when he's about to turn into a tiger, and his hair is green. So I think they could definitely fix some things about Beast Boy, but I think the characterization and the actor, they definitely got it. They did it really well, and the origin story he was shown in this episode, along with his origin story connecting to the Doom Patrol, was also done really well in this episode. So speaking of the Doom Patrol, so in terms of the Doom Patrol, I'm just going to go over every single character and tell you guys what I thought about them. So I already talked about Beast Boy, so the next one that we were introduced to was Robot Man, who is I think he looks very good. I think the costume he wears, the actor wears, looks really great. My only problem really is that he doesn't really move very quickly, so like he moves really slowly because they have to move him around in that suit, which I don't know how they will translate to fight scenes, and it looks a little cheap at times. But I think other than that, the characterization for him also really great, and I'm pretty sure that's pretty comic book accurate as well. I think he looks great. It's just that it seems pretty cheap just the way he moves. Hopefully they could fix that by later episodes of this season, and also the Doom Patrol TV show. So then you have Elastigirl, who we didn't really see much of her powers in this episode. We didn't really see any of their powers in this episode, but we will see them later in Doom Patrol or this season. But Elastigirl also, the actress is pretty great in the episode. The costume also looks pretty cool, and the CGI for her powers, what we saw of the fact that her body gets messed up by her powers, that was done really well. The whole thing is that they're like outsiders. They're very X-Men-y characters, which is a weird thing to say because the X-Men came after the Doom Patrol, but I don't think they're based off each other. I think they came out like 2 months from each other in the comics, which is insane. But they're very similar, where they have to hide from society because they're different, and I thought that was done really well for this episode. Hopefully that will translate very well to the TV show. I mean, they're most likely going to do some sort of storyline in Season 1 of Doom Patrol where they are revealed to the public, and because of that, people are scared of them or something like that. But moving on to Negative Man, who also I really liked him as well. We didn't really see his powers either, but I am very excited to see his power specifically. I think his powers are really, really cool, where he can turn into pure negative energy when he leaves his body. I thought that was really cool. The characterization for him also really great. I really liked every single one of the Doom Patrol members except for one of them, and that's the Chief. And the reason for that is, well, first of all, his accent is really, really difficult to get past. It's like the exact same accent that Vandal Savage had in Legends of Tomorrow, and it just makes them feel less imposing or less whatever they're supposed to be. I mean, it's just so hard to get past. I don't know if it doesn't sound like a real accent either. I don't know if that's supposed to be his accent in the comics. I'm not exactly sure, but his accent here is just really hard to get past. I don't know if that's just me, but I think his characterization other than that was probably pretty good. I mean, he's really creepy. I don't know if they were going for that, but he definitely came off as creepy and a lot different from the rest of the Doom Patrol, a lot less likable than the rest of the Doom Patrol. They probably went for that, and they're probably going to have something with that in Doom Patrol on the show. But that is the Doom Patrol in this episode. For the most part, I thought they were done really, really well in terms of the characterization. Everything else other than that, we'll just have to wait and see how they do things like their powers and how they look in fight scenes. We'll have to see for that in this season as well as in Doom Patrol in Season 1 and after that. So moving past the newly introduced characters and the more fleshed out characters in this episode, the storylines in this episode were, one of them was Raven going to the Doom Patrol mansion and then her meeting the Doom Patrol. The other one was Dick and Corey looking for Raven, and they obviously collided at the end of the episode. But I will say, in terms of the storylines, they were both really good, but they were both a little bit uneventful. Like, a lot happened because the characters were introduced, characters' relationships were fleshed out, and I will say this isn't a very major complaint, it's a very minor complaint, but not much happened outside of that. The only scenes that really I could say were eventful was the scene where Dick was really beating up that guy, and that led to conflict between him and Corey, and then the scene at the end where Raven was going crazy and Dick calmed her down. Outside of that, it was only characters being introduced and fleshed out, and again, that's not really a complaint. I mean, they did need to be fleshed out, but that did lead to a more boring episode where not much happened in terms of big eventful things. Again, I have to really emphasize this isn't a huge complaint, it's a very minor complaint, but it is still a complaint nonetheless. But the actual storylines of the episode, the Dick and Corey storyline was definitely the worst of the two, but just because it was less important. It wasn't the main storyline of the episode, but it did flesh out the relationship between the two characters pretty well and the conflict that Dick Grayson has inside of him, and it really showed how Dick Grayson, and that was been emphasized in the first couple episodes, is that he is really acting kind of out of character. This is a complaint I had about him on the show, is that he is a really dark version of Dick Grayson, and he's more like Jason Todd, and it seems like they are really, really focusing on that in this season, where probably at the end he's going to be a more lighthearted version of Dick Grayson, which is the Nightwing version of Dick Grayson, and for now he is very conflicted about what he has, and I thought that was really emphasized really well in this episode with the storyline between Dick and Corey, which also definitely established the relationship between the two very well. So this episode finally saw all four Titans together, because at the end Beast Boy joined the Titans. Which, something I'd say about that is that I think they did a very good job at subtly bringing together the Titans for this show. I mean, usually superhero teams come together just to fight a big threat, and then after that they just are a team. On Titans, are doing something different, where they actually very subtly and very naturally came together as a team. They're not actually a team yet. They're just four people who are trying to do something, or trying to get somewhere, or trying to get away from certain people, and later in the season they will become a team, and I think that is a very smart way to bring the superheroes together, especially in a TV show type thing. I think in a TV show, to bring a superhero team together and just to fight a big threat, and then to form the relationships between the characters, that would probably not work as well as it would in a movie series like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So the fact that they're doing it differently here, where they're very subtly bringing the team together and having their character relationships build before they become a team, I think that is done very well in this episode. It's a very smart way to build up the Titans for this TV show. So anyway, this episode was a great introduction to the Doom Patrol, and another great episode for Titans, so I'll give this episode an 8.9 out of 10, but let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments down below, and if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.